I crocheted 100 items to donate. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're not, welcome back. I feel like I always have scrap yarn and extra yarn like that I don't have enough to do anything with, and it was just piling up. I feel like all of my yarn storage places were overflowing with just colors that I didn't have enough of and I couldn't make anything with. So I decided to start a project. I started this on December 29th of 2024, so like near the end of last year. And I decided I was going to use all of the yarn that I had, the extra spare colors I don't have enough of, all the yarn I don't really like using, to make 100 pieces to donate. So I started looking for some donation places like that take knit and crochet stuff, and I landed upon Warm Up America. I like this one because I can send in a lot of different things. You can send in beanies of all sizes, you can send in scarves of all sizes, blankets of all sizes, you can send in gloves, mittens, they can be crocheted or knit. They have some patterns on their website, and they also do this thing where you can send in what they call blanket squares, which are like, I think it's 9" by 7". If it's not, I'll give you the correct measurement. But you make blanket squares and you send them all in at once, and they have people that are part of their organization that will sew all the blanket squares together and make different size blankets for whatever they need. So they, with that measurement, they can make baby blankets, adult blankets, full size, twin size, that kind of thing. So I wanted to work on that because then I could kind of switch around the projects that I was doing as I got bored with each project. So when making the blanket squares, if you are going to do this, I recommend cutting out like a cardboard template, which is also on the website. They recommend it, especially for kids, but I'm 23 and I still use that cardboard piece. It made it so much easier instead of having to like pull out a measuring tape every single time. And then my mom wanted to practice her crocheting skills because she started crocheting, I think it was this last year or the year before, but she wanted to practice her skills, so I also made her a cardboard template so she could make some squares when she felt like crocheting. But it was really handy, so I definitely recommend doing that if you are going to make the blanket squares. Also, if you don't want to do the blanket squares, but you want to crochet stuff to donate and you have a bunch of scrap yarn, I did just post a Stash Buster crochet idea with over 50 Stash Buster pattern ideas. There's gloves, there's scarves, there's blankets that all kind of use your scrap yarn. So if you need free patterns, check that video out. There's a lot over there. I made couple squares today. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I made 4 today with just leftover yarn that's literally just been sitting. I have so many like half skeins, partial skeins sitting over here that I don't have plans for, so I'm just gonna be working with those. And then this is like a softer yarn, so since this one is softer on the skin, I'm gonna make some baby beanies with this. But I wanted to show the first 4 squares I got done. But I'm kind of tired of making squares today, so, or tonight I guess. So I'm gonna switch over to making some baby beanies with this. Okay, I have to show you these cute little preemie baby beanies I made. This is, I found a free beanie pattern. I'll link it in the description, the one that I used, but it's for like a bunch of different sizes. It's for preemie babies, newborns, 3 months, 6 months. I think it goes all the way up to child sizes, but it's perfect and it's so cute and so simple and really fast workup. Definitely beginner friendly. If you haven't been crocheting for a long time, you could still definitely make some of these and donate them, but so cute. I ended up making 2 and now I'm heading to bed. Okay, I made 4 more preemie size baby beanies. I used almost all of that like gradient yarn I had. I think this might make 1 more beanie preemie size, so I might try it, but I'm going on my walk, so I wanted to check in on what I made this morning. I made 4, and the way that the gray changes, it's so cool. It made each beanie like a different shade of gray. But 4 more preemie size beanies. I think after I make this 5th one with this, I'll probably switch to a bigger size beanie, like a child size or a toddler size or something, but I wanted to have a couple preemie sizes. The bag I've been putting everything in is starting to fill up, so I'm probably going to transition into a bigger tote bag. But This is literally a stack of blanket squares I've been making on and off throughout the last like week or two. It's a lot of blanket squares. And then this is a stack of like preemie beanies, adult beanies, child beanies, little beanies that I've worked on. This is almost full, and I'm gonna be knitting some beanies with my knitting machine because at this point I'm at 37 pieces and I want to get to 100 or just get through all my yarn, whichever ends up happening first. But this is one of my yarn spots I wanted to show you. This used to be stuffed full. I don't know if I filmed it before. I have this hooked right here because I'm using my heating pad on my bed right now, but this used to be stuffed to the max and I just pulled everything out that was left. I've been making all of this stuff in this bag from this tier, like these 3 tiers, so it's already a lot less than it was, but I went through and pulled out all the yarns I can use on my knitting machine, put them in a pile here. A lot of like half-used skeins that I'm not going to use for anything. So some color gradient yarns, some multicolor yarn, some solid yarns, but they're all the same weight and they're all machine washable, so I can use them for the knitting machine. And I'm going to try and make a bunch of adult size beanies because that's the one thing I'm missing right now. I have 37 pieces total, but like one of those is an adult beanie, so a lot of it's for babies and kids, and then the blanket squares. So I'm going to go through all these. I'll see how many I can make with this pile with my knitting machine today. That's today's goal. And I'll show you my other yarn storage areas. So I made this a while ago to hold yarn, and I'm gonna be honest, I put it back here and just forgot about it. Now, not all of these are machine washable, so I can't use all of them, but a lot of the ones at the bottom of this are machine washable, so I will be using those. There is a lot available in here that I could use, but a lot of these like velvet blanket yarns and burlap blanket yarns, they're not machine washable and dryable, so I'll have to leave those in there, but I can use a lot of these balls that are in here. So I will be pulling from that next, but for now I am starting with what's in the tier over here. This is my other storage. A lot of these are my smaller weight yarns. I won't be touching these for the donations, but I have these I can pull from. These kind of like half-used greens. And then this top drawer I won't be pulling from just because it's all small yarns. So thin weight yarns I want to be using this year for other projects I bought them for. So these will just stay here. Let's just start getting through all of these. I pulled all those wrappers out from the tier 2. There was nothing in them. They were just, I shoved the wrappers there. So I'm going to set up my knitting machine, watch some Walking Dead, and see how many we can make today. I turned that pile of yarn into 16 adult beanies. So I have a few minutes to I have a couple hours today to kill, so I think I'm going to make some more stuff for the donation thing. I think we're at like 50 something out of 100 donation pieces, but I was just kind of going around my room and looking for yarn that I could use, and then I remembered that my craft room is full of yarn. Most of it's for stuff on Etsy, but there's things that I took off my Etsy that I still have extra yarn for just sitting in there. So I'm gonna go see what I can find. And then I think we're gonna do some beanies on the knitting machine today because I've been really working my hands with some mouse in a suitcase orders that I've had this week. So I need to do something that doesn't take too much from my hands. So we're gonna do some knitting machine beanies with some yarn. So let's go in the craft room and see if we can find any yarn. Cause this cubby is for the Nanami hats, the Tomo hats, the Kyo hats, and more Tomo hat yarn. And then this is kind of just like extra that doesn't go to anything. I can use those 2 greens, so we can take all those. And then this is full of all of the storage yarn for the mice in a suitcase that I do. I'm just gonna call it quits on the mice in a suitcase because I don't really like making them anymore. So unless it's used for a suitcase, I don't need it. So that actually changes things. I can use some of this. These whites are used. I'm also gonna I'm gonna look up this blanket yarn and see if it's machine washable, because if it is, I can make a baby blanket out of it. Okay, so I'm using my many Joann's tote bags to organize stuff. So I've organized all the Red Heart Super Saver into this tote. Those are good for blanket squares and using on the knitting machine. This is the Big Twist, which is softer, so I want to save it for like baby beanies and preemie beanies and baby stuff. So this is like the baby bag. And then this is what we're going to be putting everything we make today in that tote, because I already filled the other tote. Alright, we have this bag full of blanket yarn. While we're organizing yarn and getting kind of everything situated, I have this green one. You can go in here. I used it to make a puppet the other day. Where's my puppet? Oh, it's right here. I used that green yarn to make this puppet. It's very cute. I was learning about puppets in one of my classes for therapy with children, and I got inspired to make a puppet of my own. I'm really trying to get rid of a lot of my yarn, if you can't tell. My goal for this project, this donation project, is to have 100 pieces sent by Valentine's, and as of right now it's January 24th, so we'll see. Alright, I finished making all of these beanies today, and this is the yarn that we have left to use on the knitting machine. Most of the yarn I used was weight 4 acrylic. That's just what I had a lot of leftover of. So a lot of it was weight 4 acrylic, and it has to be machine washable. So whatever yarn you're picking, if you are going with Warm Up America, one of the requirements is that the yarn is machine washable. So just make sure you're keeping that in mind when you're using your yarn. If you're a brand new beginner and you don't know how much to crochet to make a 9x7 blanket square, I did write this little mini pattern for you if you want to make a blanket square but you don't want to spend the time to figure out how many to chain and how many to do. So for me, this might depend on tension, but me and my mom both had the same result, and we kind of crocheted different tensions. It doesn't have to be exact 9x7, it just has to be close enough. So when using weight 4 acrylic yarn, I used a 5mm hook. I chained 30 and then did 28 rows of double crochet, chain 2, 28 rows of 28 double crochets for each row for 13 rows. That makes a 9x7. If this inspires you to donate something to Warm Up America specifically, keep in mind that you can make a bunch of different items. You can make beanies, scarves, gloves, anything that warms someone up in all different sizes, okay? So you don't just have to make blanket squares, although they are like the easiest thing to make in my opinion, but keep that in mind. And then you can just mail in your donation. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mail my donation in, and now I got rid of all of my yarn that I didn't want, and someone's getting warm across America. So let's get into what I made and how much I made of each different item. The total is 100. Okay, I made 100 items, but also the amounts of items, like for the amount of each item that I made wasn't really specific at all. It wasn't intentional. It was just more so me crocheting and then being like, I'm bored, and then changing the item. So if I have like an insane difference in different amounts of things, that was just because I got bored and changed what I was doing. But I have a total of 100 items. Alright, so for the count, I made 21 preemie baby beanies, which are just beanies for babies that are born premature and have to stay in the hospital a little longer. Their heads are tinier than newborns, so there's a whole specific size for that. Also, I will link in the description box below the beanie pattern that I used. The beanie pattern I used has preemie size. It's free. It's free, first of all, and it has preemie size, newborn size, child size, toddler size. So depending on what you want to do, I will leave that linked in below. I used that for all of the child baby beanies I did. So I made 21 preemie baby beanies. I made 12 newborn beanies. I made 30 total of those blanket squares I was telling you about. I didn't even think I was gonna make 30 of them, and I just kept going and kept going and kept going. I think my mom made about 2 or 3 of them, but I made the rest, and we ended up with a lot, so hopefully they can make a bunch of different blankets out of it. I also made 1 child-sized beanie and then 34 adult beanies, and these adult beanies I used my knitting machine for. So technically I didn't hand crochet everything. I did use my knitting machine because I have one. It's a circular one. So I made the tube and then I had to finish it with crochet, so I kind of also crocheted it. But I did do that to get things done a little faster, and they make them very, very thick because they're double layered, which is one of the things on the website that says like they don't want loom beanies because those tend to stretch open when you put them on and you can see your head underneath it, which the whole point of making beanies, especially if they end up with cancer patients, is to cover their head. So the knitting machine is really cool because it double layers the beanie, and when it stretches, like, you really can't see through it. So it makes a really durable, warm beanie. So I made 34 of those beanies with my machine, and then I made one adult scarf because I had this random yarn that was really thick, machine washable, and I didn't know what else to do with it. I didn't think it'd make a good beanie, so I ended up making a scarf with it. And then I also made one baby blanket, and for the baby blanket I just did a granny square, and I just kept making it bigger and bigger and bigger, and with the thick yarn it ended up working up big enough to be a blanket, a baby blanket. So, which you can also send finished baby blankets to Warm Up America as well. You don't just have to do the squares. But that makes for a total of 100 items that I made to donate. Oh my gosh, if you guys are curious, I wrote down the day that I started this and the day I ended this to see how long it took me to get 100 items. And for me, I started on December 29th, 2024, and my end date was January 31st of 2025. So it was a total of 34 days of crocheting to get to 100 pieces to donate. So I really just spent all my free time where I was just watching TV and I wasn't working on an Etsy order, crocheting to donate. And now I have so much more free space, and like I got rid of so much yarn that I didn't want to take into the new year with me, if I'm being honest. I have a lot left, so maybe I'll do another one of these or something, or we'll do like a scrap project or a scrap yarn stash buster kind of crochet with me later to get rid of some more, because I still have a bunch of yarn I don't want anymore. So thanks for hanging out. If this was inspiring, let me know in the comments if you guys are planning on donating to, or if you're gonna pick a different organization to donate to. This one was just the easiest one for me to do. If you guys find any other organizations that people should donate to, please link them in the comments down below and I'll add them to the description so people can have some more options for where to donate. I'll put all of it into the description, and then I'll leave those patterns I mentioned also in the description, and I'll link that stash buster video I mentioned earlier down there as well. So if you want any of that stuff, it'll all be down there. If you enjoyed this, you liked hanging out, feel free to subscribe to my channel for some more content from me. Like this video if you liked it, and comment down below if you're gonna join me in this donation crochet journey. Trend? Let's make this a trend. This would be a good trend to make. Anyway, thank you for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!